Welcome to the Catalyst for the Trade. I'm Jennifer Bagley. I'm here with my co-host, Krista Williams from Lemon Seed. We're missing Chuck in the truck today. He's busy.
Wait, yeah.
Our Chuck in the truck is today. We are so happy you guys are joining us live. We are streaming live. You can also find the podcast on Apple and Spotify and about 15 other podcast sites. So pick your favorite, download the app, you guys. This is also broadcasting live. So if you're on social media sites, we've got our producers in the background and are monitoring the comments. Feel free to join the conversation, ask questions, dig in. And we are so happy to have our friend and strategic partner for many, many years, Mr. Greg Dickinson from Power Seller Pros.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us again.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So I was called last night by my account managers on Three-Way, and they specifically asked that we dive in on this particular podcast into the conversation of how people are handling their leads. It was a weird call because it was one of those, I could tell they were really, really concerned. The fact that they three-wayed me, it was 11 p.m. and they were playing messages one after another and recorded calls and saying, I'm going to send you a file and this is a problem. They were just emotionally disturbed and concerned that on one hand, capturing leads is becoming more and more and more difficult. Right? This is the division of where consumers are converting is changing, it's evolving, and how precious every single call is, and how consumers on the other end are being treated, whether not answered at all or lack of empathy. There's a million different
Listen,
things.
let me.
Please.
I could have been on that call with your account managers. Let me see. We're in the same boat, right? So, when we're trying to help contractors get more leads, our job is like, hey, we're making the phone ring, but like your team's not doing anything with it. Your team is terrible at booking the calls. They can't overcome any objections, especially those people that are like tire kickers, and just like, let me see what you are, and so the importance of that booking rate definitely needs to be a KPI that all contractors are tracking. So even call center managers, whatever leadership role you have in place over your call center, they have to prioritize the importance of booking the lead. So all of us marketing partners, we can only generate so much. We can't drive the actual revenue better than you can. And so Brigham here is pro at it. Like I come from back in the days when Power Selling Pros was killing it for my family's company. We had all of our CSRs going through that, and Brigham, I know you're like chomping at the bit. You have so much to say. I'm here for it.
One other thing too, Brigham, for you. Like all our clients are provided with a powerful system. We utilize a platform called What Converts. It records the initial entry point, the entire customer journey. So we know what the attribution chain is, not just the initial attribution. It records the calls. It evaluates the sentiment. It says whether it was booked. It says what the intent was when they called in. It gives a sentiment, whether it was neutral or positive or negative as far as how the calls. And the number of requests that we've got from owners to say, I don't want these emails. Like it's an email that analyzes with AI all of how the call was handled. I'm an OCD mom. And I would freak out if I had access to that data and I wasn't allowed to see it. But they're not even wanting to get the notifications real time, which I would want real time data. I would want real time instant feedback on every call that came in. I monitor ours like crazy, and not even logging into this platform that has all of this information in there on top of it. I just feel like it's neglect at every level. Okay, I'm done preaching, but.
So what you're talking about is what we hear on a regular basis. I'm also come from the marketing side of the industry. In 2008, I was a broker for a digital marketing company called Oozle in Utah. And one of my clients was Troy Nearing's Plumbing and Heating. And he called me in and he said, hey, your leads are no good. I said, what do you mean my leads are no good? He says, well, all I want is a ballpark price. All they want is to know what we charge to come out. All they want is to talk to a technician. We don't know how to book these calls. I said, okay, but what are they calling about specifically? Well, their system's not working. Okay. Is that not what you want? Well, yeah, that's definitely what I want. And he says, well, until we figure out how to book these calls, I'm just going to put things on hold. And I said, don't put things on hold. Why? Because I didn't want to get fired. Instead, let's train them. Let's train them on how to book these calls while these customers so that you can keep the leads going and keep your technicians busy. Don't stop the leads. Let's just train the team. And he says, okay, cool. You want to do that? And I said, sure, I can do it. And he let me do it. And I started training his team, and he increased his call conversion by 20%, which is huge. He refers me to a guy by the name of Tom Robichaud, Precision Plumbing and Heating, Boulder, Colorado. Same thing. Start working with him. His call conversions go up. The two of them get together and say, hey, let's help bring him out. He's got something good here. And they refer me to Mike Gugliero, owner of Gold Medal at the time in East Brunswick, New Jersey. And then, of course, Mike said, hey, if you do a good job for me, I'm going to refer you to everybody. And sure enough, he referred us to everybody. And the rest is history. I hired all my friends. You guys know I don't have a lot of friends. And yeah, I mean, the way I like to go about it with a business owner is simply to ask them, guys, how much time do you spend training your techs? And you know the answer to that question. What do you guys think the answer to that question usually is from a business owner standpoint? How much time do they spend training their techs? What do you guys think?
Weekly meeting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And it's a badge of honor. And it's not just weekly, it's daily. Every day I train my techs. Every one of them's held accountable, right? And they love it, and they're flexing their muscles a little bit. And then I go, cool. And how much time are you spending with your office staff? Crickets. Zero time. Look, we are basically setting up the lead to the point where hopefully you're the only one going out. You guys booking the call should be a given. The goal should be I book 100% of my phone calls. Inbound calls, you should book 100% of those. Okay, so it's not just about booking the call. It's about creating such an amazing experience. I like to call it a wow experience for the customer, so that by the time you're done with that call, they hang up, it's 911, there's no 912. Help us on the way. You need to spend at least as much time with your office staff training them as you do your field staff. So what do you really want to do? You want to create a training culture from top to bottom. Now, if in your heart of hearts, you know you can't do that on your own, that's fine. Get a third party to do that for you.
Okay.
But you're right. Either way, it needs to be done.
So let me throw this out there, because I feel like we're at the end of the supply chain here. Like, I feel like the beginning is the supply chain. I'm just gonna be a little brash. It is
Not you.
I'm a little irritated. Like, committing to training is one thing. Being consciously aware that you have the data to know that you need it is step one. Like, stop ignoring this excuse of I'm busy being busy, rocking chair syndrome, not going anywhere. And like, the first step is, do you care enough to listen to what's happening? Because in every instance, I'm on a call and having a conversation saying, I'm going to jump on this call because my account manager is really stressed about how the calls are coming in. I see a note in the CRM that says that you asked to remove from the notifications, removed from the monthly report, and I haven't seen you log into the application once, which I feel like is this blinder that says, not only am I, like, even if they say that, yeah, I agree, we need to train all staff, that's important. Like, the step before that is the data exists for you to see that you need it instead of defend your people. This isn't about defending your people, which I feel like is the first step. Is I'm going to defend the crew. I'm going to act like I hear on a regular basis, oh, we have a 60% booking rate. We have an 80% booking rate. I'm sorry, but bullshit. Like, I hate to say it, I can see it. It's not true. It's fake. Like, at some point there has to be a level of intent and accountability for an owner, especially this small to mid-sized business, that I'm not just going to throw random numbers out. I'm not going to act like this isn't important, because what are you going to train them on if you don't know there's an issue? And if the data is present and you choose to ignore it, we have a bigger issue as an owner with a lack of accountability for the business. And this is just I'm just.
Perhaps, Jennifer, go ahead, Crystal.
No, and it's right. So many times, like I have to use this a lot. So, a lot of things are not intended to catch people doing something wrong. What we're trying to do is either reward good behavior or identify areas of concern. So, it does take you as an owner getting to a place that I'm not here to beat up my team all day long. So, how do I take the information that I'm given and curate a culture of growing and training and making the best out of every single employee that I have? And so it's just a little mind shift but when you start prioritizing the customer journey as a whole, as an owner, like thinking, because most owners, right, they're technicians or installers at heart. Now we're starting to get more people in the trades that are just like business owners, operational people. But most contractors, I still feel like to this day, come from the technical side. So they tend to lean more into their install crews and their technician side. And so it's really having them step back and see the whole journey that a customer takes with your company to appreciate building out a solid brand, and that includes the first stop, which would be the call center.
If you can set it up the right way over the phone, your technician will be the only one going out to the customer's home. If that is true, what are your chances of making something happen inside that home? If you're the only one going out, trust me, if I ask a technician that question, he's going to say, I got it. Well, of course you got it. You're the only one that's going out and they need you. Look, they wouldn't call you if they could do it themselves. They're calling you because they don't want to do it themselves or they don't know how. Either way, you should be able to go out there and make something happen, especially if you're the only one going out. And that's the CSR's job. You see, you guys, once the phone rings, the marketing has done its job. Okay, if they can fog a mirror and they're on the phone with you, the marketing rocks. Give them a raise. Okay, the CSR's job is to create an amazing experience for the customer. So Crystal's absolutely right. You've got to build a training culture from top to bottom, from left to right. Every day you need to be training them. And what do you train them on? Well, they've got to have the right mindset and they've got to own their process. And I've talked about this over and over and over again, and I'm not going to stop until everybody gets it. This is the greatest sales book of all time. Okay, it really is, because in this book, you learn about Sam I Am, who was relentless in his process. He owns his process. He has the right mindset. He goes through 70 objections and 15 closes to sell green eggs and green ham to his customer. In the beginning, the customer hates him. By the end, the customer loves him and he loves green eggs and green ham. You got to have the right mindset. In other words, the mindset is when a customer calls in, they're a customer. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what they ask for. Okay, when a customer calls in and says, hey, I'm looking for a ballpark price, your answer is going to be, great. Tell me more about your situation. Okay, tell me what's happening. What's going on? I need more information, right? It's not a put off. It's you simply saying, I need to know more. If somebody calls in and says, hey, I just want to talk to a technician, great. We have a lot of those. Let me make sure I'm sending out the right one. Tell me more about your situation, right? If somebody calls in and they say, hey, what do you charge on this specific part? Awesome. How did you come to find that you need that part? That's the part that you need. Tell me more about your situation. What's going on? See, regardless of what they say, usually those types of calls that come in, a CSR is going to go, oh, that's a non-starter. It's not even a call, and they put it in the abandoned call list, right? So it doesn't affect their numbers. Those are leads. They're leads. Hey, what do you charge to come out? It depends on your situation. Can you tell me more about it? Right? Those are all leads. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say that's the data challenge, is trusting the manually input data or trusting the recorded AI-enabled data that says this is a bookable call. They asked for a price over the phone, that this was negative because the response was, I'm sorry, we don't give prices over the phone. And the customer says, okay, thank you, and then calls the next company.
Yeah.
In the CRM, your data says one thing, and in the lead flow data that's not being looked at, it says something entirely different. Like, I'm going to trust the AI's analysis of the call over a human that's fudging their numbers all day long.
Yes. I was in a meeting with several other really good sales trainers in our industry. And they were talking about how usually objections come down to either price or timing. And while I agree with them, when somebody asks about a price, or if it comes down to price, what they're saying is I don't know the difference between you and the next guy aside from your price. So it is the CSR's job, as well as the technician's job, to create an immense amount of value to that customer, create likability, create connection, so that that's funny. So that by the time that the interaction gets to the point where a price is involved, the price doesn't matter. Why? Because of the relationship between either the CSR and the customer or the technician and the customer. So when somebody says price, they're really looking for value differentiation. If we don't provide that value differentiation over the phone as well as in the home, we may get the sell, but we're not going to get the margin we want. So focus on value. When somebody says price, when they ask about price, what they really want is value, and you've got to show them that value.
Yeah.
One thing that I think, and I'm sorry, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, I'm sneezing and coughing like crazy. But
so glad you're here.
But one of the things I'll tack on to that is, I know I keep pushing brand, but your brand that you're putting out there is how you make people feel. So if you want people to feel like your work is valuable, it's higher end, and you're tired of being like priced punched all the time, then start early where that experience is immediately high end. It's immediately engaging. You actually answer the phone in quick times. Your team can answer phones. Nothing drives me more crazy than watching a CSR say, well, let me get with somebody and call you back to see when I can come out and service you. That's crazy, right? That's so antiquated. We have to move forward to have a more immediate response to our people. Every customer is a gift, and we need to treat it that way.
Yes.
I agree. I like that we all come from such different perspectives. I feel like my perspective is going to be heavily focused on the business owner getting their stuff together and understanding what is the single source of truth, what is manipulated truth, what is a perception of the truth, knowing the difference, and then making the hard call that I want the single source of truth, and I want to train my team that the data that is entered into the system has to match the single source of truth so that we can provide the right training, make the right decisions, reward the right behavior. I mean, I think it heavily starts at the owner's. It's who's accountable. I'm accountable in my own world. Am I going to trust 100% of the CRM data or the original source of the information? Our goal is constantly to get the CRM to match the actual so that I have the capability to make decisions as a business owner. I need to be able to make the call, and I can't make the call if the information is trash. I can't.
Well, a lot of times the CSRs, remember, a lot of you treat a CSR as an entry-level position. Right. So a lot of times these are people that are new to the industry, maybe even very young and new to the professional world. And so educating them on the importance of their part of I know I keep going back, but educate them on how important it is. Like, you are our first line of offense here. Like, you are who is going to set the tone for the entire experience with our brand. And if you look at that, we should be placing a ton of importance on the first people that talk to our potential clients. And those clients are where they're going to replace or repair or get on our maintenance clubs, whatever that looks like. Your CSRs will make or break the deal. And so everyone else's experience with that client is dependent upon how the CSR sets the tone. And then dispatchers normally come a close second because they're the ones that are having to either break good or bad news. Like, my technician's either on the way or, hey, I got to push you. Or so setting those people up for success, if you just refocus a little bit of your time to that team, you'll probably see drastic improvement, and helping them understand the part that they play. Like, they are not the low man on the totem pole. And a lot of times I think that's how we prioritize team members that sit in those seats. Really, they need to understand the importance of their role, and you need to acknowledge that importance.
Yes. I think it's important for us to discuss how it affects the bottom line, because I'm sure there's going to be some business owners listening to this going, yeah, it would be nice. It'd be nice if I had a call. This is not a nice to have. This is a have to have. Okay. So let's go over it real quick. Yes. So let's say you've got 30 calls that come in, or 30 calls that a CSR answers a day. Now, if a CSR is listening to this, they're going, okay, I answer a whole lot more calls than 30. Great. Let's just say it's 30. Okay. According to Service Titan, the industry average is 42%. That's atrocious. We both know that. Okay. So let's say that most listeners on this call are a whole lot better than that. So let's say it's at 60. Okay. 60% of 30 calls is 18 calls. If your average ticket's $500, and I realize on a replacement call, it's going to be a whole lot more than that. But on a service call, it may be around $500. It may be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Let's just say $500 for the sake of simple math. So 18 times 500 is $9,000 a day. Okay, so that CSR just helped you make $9,000 a day. A week, that's $45,000, and a year, that's $2.3 million. Hey, you're a $2.3 million shop. That's awesome. The thing about it is that this industry is amazing in that you can make a lot of mistakes and still do very well financially. Okay, that's also the weakness of the industry. If we can fix this, treat it as a have to have as opposed to a nice to have, and we get that call conversion up to 85%. And again, our goal, you guys, is to book every call, not just 85%, but every call. Okay, so 30 calls, same math here. 30 calls, we book 85% instead of 60. Well, that means we book 25.5 calls as opposed to 18. Same average ticket, $500 every day. Instead of making $9,000 a day, we're making $12,750 a day. A week, it's $63,000 instead of $45,000. And a year, it's $3.3 million, you guys. That's one CSR that books 85% as opposed to 60%. Okay, this is going to change your business. It equates to millions and millions of dollars. This is a have to have.
1,000%. I'm literally sitting here looking at ROAS data. While you're pulling it up, or while you were talking about it, 2 different companies. These 2 started about the same time. Both are investing about 20 grand in digital. One's booking at a 30% book rate, and the other one's booking at a 42% book rate. So, for example, last 30 days, 1,100 leads booked, 604 of them, or 1,100 leads came in, 604 of them, 50% of them were brand new, never been in the database before. The potential revenue was $500,000 in the last 30 days. They've closed and put in the bank $284,000. The difference in the book rate in the last 30 days for these 2 companies is $160,000. They're just spending the same amount of money. They're generating about the same amount of leads, just about, like 17 off on unique conversions. And one has dropped $160,000 more into the bank in closed revenue than the one that's booking at a lower book rate. It wasn't that they spent more money. These are in similar markets, similar competition. They just improved the booking rate. And I'm pretty sure this client is working with you or has in the past. I know what they did do. One of the first things they did was dump their, they had a call center that was burning leads anytime after 5 p.m. and on the weekends. I know that was one of the first moves that they make. I know that they invested in training, and I know that this owner started paying attention to those lead notifications and watching what was happening on each call. Just took 2 minutes a day. What I told him when we got on the phone was, you got to use the restroom and you own a phone, sit on the can and open up that email, have it filtered into a folder and just read them while you're filming. Like, just do that for a minute.
Time.
Make the time.
This is how Jennifer gets ahead. She uses every minute. Every minute is productive.
Yes. Yes. And it's wisely, we make excuses as business owners that prevent us from getting the very thing we want. And we have to
Yes.
stop. Find the time, prioritize it, make it important. Find the minutes. If it's the can, fine. Then it's the can. It gives you whatever your deal is. Stop watching the news or whatever you're doing, YouTubing and scrolling, and create a filter. Put the data that you need to make decisions into a folder, and then scroll through that and get some insights. And then tomorrow morning you go in and you're sharper and you've got more awareness and you can make better decisions and guide your team better because you're looking at real data, not the data that is a drop down that's 2 clicks from a human being, but the original data. Yes.
As soon as you know your data, you now have a way to positively affect it, right? Whether you do it in-house, whether you have somebody else do it for you, this is a have to have. I wanted to address something that Crystal said earlier, unless there's something, Crystal, you wanted to say before I went back to the thing you said before.
No, just when she's calling out those numbers, like, I love stuff like that because it will like open your eyes. You don't understand the impact a lot of times as a contractor of a 30% booking rate versus a 50% booking rate. And then I would even be digging into why you're at 50. Like, people are choosing to call you. Where is the problem? And use that for strategic planning. So maybe, am I overly priced? And it's keeping like, am I too far? I just think that data is like gold. You should be analyzing that data well past the booking rate and the value of the CSR. Like, what are the reasons that people aren't booking? And then are you giving that feedback to your company, to your vendor? Like, one thing as contractors that we really suck at is being a good vendor partner and communicating and talking to our digital companies, direct mail companies, all those things. They don't live in your office. So they're looking at numbers, and numbers don't lie. So all they know is they sent you 1,100 leads. If you can conversate enough to say, hey, can we look at some of these? Like, my CSRs are booking at 50%. And, is there something that we're doing wrong? Do we have the wrong messaging? Like, be a good partner and collaborate with those vendors. So there's so much power in that. And then start showing CSRs those actual numbers, because they don't want to have a 30% booking rate either. That does not feel good. But if they don't understand how to gauge that data, like how to apply that to getting better, if it's just like thrown in front of them as a KPI with no real direction of how to get better and understand that, then there won't be growth, and you'll be kind of roadblocked in all different directions. So it goes much deeper than just barking this at the call center team. It's more of a help them understand how to manipulate that and move it in the direction that you want it to go. Like, get the buy-in, right? So that they win. They want to win too. So help them. And at the end, you win all the way around.
Yes. If you've got a CSR team that is emotionally engaged in their work, and the only reason why I bring this up is because earlier Crystal said most CSRs feel like they're the bottom of the totem pole. If you're not training them, of course they're going to feel that way. If you're not spending time with them, looking at the stats together, looking at the numbers together, showing that you care about their numbers, yeah, they're not going to stay there very long. But there are ways to keep them there in that seat longer and helping them feel fulfilled about their job. And the way that you do that is, yes, you provide training, but you also provide incentives for them to make as much money as they want to make in that seat. Okay, so let me tell you what I'm getting at here. If you can train that CSR to create such an amazing experience over the phone, they've booked it, they've wowed the customer. At the end of that call, you simply say, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I notice you don't have a club membership with us. I'm wondering why not. Now, if a CSR takes every one of those 30 calls that they've been answering, and at the end of that call, they've booked it, they've wowed the customer, they ask that question about a club membership, let's say that 20 out of the 30 say, oh, I'm good. And that's fine. You don't push it. You simply say, hey, if you change your mind, talk to your technician about it, and you plant the seed. But what that means is that there are 10 out of the 30 that go, well, what is it? Let's say that 2 out of the 10 say, hey, let's do it. Let's move forward. That means you have just sold 2 club memberships a day. Now, let's say that you are paid $15 per club membership. That's $30 a day, you guys. $30 a day, $150 a week, and $7,500 a year that they have just made on their own. Every time I ask a CSR if you could make an extra $7,500, would that not be exciting and motivating to you? And they all say, heck yeah. What could they do with $7,500? You guys, they could go to Disneyland. They could buy a car. They could pay down debt. They can do so many things with $7,500. Now, if you can give them the ability to do that on the inbound calls, don't you see how much easier it's going to be for them to do happy calls on the outbound? Calls aren't coming in. You want them to read their favorite novel, or do you want them to call out? Well, if you give them a way to make more money, control over their own income, and basically independence, self-reliance is what we're looking for here. If we can create that environment, that kind of culture that we've been talking about, they're going to stay there longer. They're going to be able to make as much money as they want to make, and they're probably going to call out when the calls aren't coming in. They're going to do happy calls. If you incentivize them to book a heating call out of a plumbing call, or a plumbing call out of a heating call, or an electrical call out of a solar call, right? If you provide these different services and a CSR is paying attention because they know that they can positively affect their own income by paying attention, by listening, by caring, by reassuring, all the things that we teach. And at the end of that phone call, they know that if they book a second appointment, that they're going to make extra money for that. And of course, wouldn't you incentivize them for that? Wouldn't you pay them for that? You see, our goal here is to get a team, and as opposed to them just answering the phones, actually create a process where they can be part of the selling program, not just the technician selling, but the CSR selling. You won't be able to get rid of them. They'll be indispensable.
I want to, yes. So one, I was on a call. I want to say it was Monday. I'm getting my days mixed up, but I believe it was Monday. And it was a smaller company, owner's spouse, and 3 or 4 of the office staff were on the meeting. And when I asked everybody to introduce themselves, one of them was quiet. She didn't speak up. And I was like, hang on, we were missing somebody in the back. Who's that? And she said, I'm Jessica. I just answer the calls. And it hurt my soul. I was like, let's pause for a minute, because you're the biggest rock star in this office right now. Let's fix that first. That was bothersome. But you brought up another, and I think there's a lot of merit and weight to that. I hope that's not the case. I just answer the calls is not the right comment I would want from anyone on my team. That means in some way, shape, or form, she's been made to not feel important. And that is not okay. Not okay. And well, that's literally costing.
Yeah, and I think it's just because I really think the majority of this is innocence on a contractor's part. It's that you're so focused on what we do once we get in the home, because that's where you see people signing on the dotted line for a $20,000 replacement. And so this isn't really about a shift in mindset for contractors to understand, like, if it starts there, it will eventually, everyone will start realizing the part they play in the puzzle. One of the best exercises that we ever did at my family's company at McWilliams was we literally, I took a CSR, a dispatcher, and then I took a technician, an installer, or install coordinator. So the entire customer journey, and I put them all outside of the room. And the rest of the company was all inside the room. And we literally I pretended to be the customer. And as I talked, every single person came in. So the first person that came in the room was the CSR. So I said, hi, I'm Crystal. I've got this problem. And I gave all these things. You know, I have a dog. Like, I don't want to let him out of the house, so he might bark. And but I don't have a lot of money, but I do have some cash. And I gave all these instances. And then the dispatcher had to call me, and they got to see in real time, like, details getting dropped and all of this details that I was giving them, because the team was really like having to rely on the communication that they were given when the person went back outside the room. And that exercise, I still to this day I think it opened up more eyes to the importance that every single piece plays, and how easy it is to point fingers. Because one of the things I distinctly remember was saying I had bad airflow in my kid's bedroom. I said that to the CSR. She never relayed that to the next team. And so when the installer got there, I said, well, what are you going to do about my airflow? And the look on his face was like, and the whole room was like, oh, like, and the CSR was like, oh my gosh, you know. So it was very eye-opening for everybody to see that. But we had to do that. We had to make a shift to where we realized, like, maybe it's even in pay and incentives. Like, why is that team you know, it's just a mindset. It's just a mindset that we've got to shift.
I love that. That's a great exercise. I do want to make sure that we get to the second piece of this is once this organization, this group, this team, this part of the supply chain becomes important, wildly important, there's a lot of money to be had. There's a lot of companies that are, just getting started. Maybe their lead bucket that they used to use is dried up or no longer solvent. Like, what about outbounding? Because this crew, I mean, there's a huge difference. I was just pulling up two other companies. One has successfully turned their CSR team into a sales machine, and they fill every open gap. They're part of the marketing department, and the math is entirely different when that organization becomes part of the marketing and sales team, and their minutes are never squandered. If the phone's not ringing, it's ringing because they're calling out. Bring them. How do we get there?
Well, the gateway drug is club memberships on inbound calls. Give them, I don't care if it's $10, I don't care if it's $15. And you guys, the best time to sell a maintenance agreement is over the phone. Why? Because that's when the customer is feeling the most emotional angst. The technician goes out to the home, they fix the problem, then they try to sell a club membership. It's already fixed. It's been working for 5 years. You fixed it. It's probably going to work for another 5 years, right? That's my logic as a homeowner. The emotional angst is gone. But if over the phone, they're frustrated, you guys know what they're feeling, right? They've got budget concerns. They're planning on a Disney trip that they can't do anymore, so on and so forth. There is emotional angst going on over the phone. That's why it's the best time to sell a club membership. So let the CSR do it, pay them to do it, and that'll kind of get them going like, wow, if I could do this on inbound calls, why can't I do it on happy calls? And if they've got time to do that, well, then it becomes a whole lot easier for us to talk about, hey, look, you know how we love technicians setting leads for Comfort Advisors? Why can't a CSR set a lead? They can look at the notes and go, I'm looking at your notes, and I noticed that we've been working on your system for the last 12 years. Have you ever considered replacing it? You've gotten some great life out of it. Just ask. And if I'm a CSR and I can book that replacement call, then book it. Now, again, you guys, if we can get them doing this on the inbound calls, it'll be an easy transition to the outbound calls, especially if calls aren't coming in. Now, the ones that are really good at doing outbound, we might sit them aside and go, hey, I would like to promote you to our outbound team. What do you think? Now, we still want you to spend a couple hours in the morning on inbounds. Why is that? Well, every time you make a sell, it creates momentum. You want to create your own momentum. Look, if I'm only doing outbound, I'm going to have great weeks and I'm going to have very bad weeks. So the way that I create momentum is I spend the first 2 hours taking inbound calls and I'm selling on those inbound calls. It's going to be easier to sell. Once I get one sell or two, it's going to be after that first 2 hours, the next 6 hours is spent doing outbound. Okay, so we basically slowly transition them over to outbound. And the ones that are really good at it, we put them in outbound after 2 hours a day in inbound. That's how we do it.
So I've had people respond and say that that's expensive. I've had people say that that's expensive. I'm like, how much is your cost per lead right now? What's your cost of acquisition for a new customer? So if you don't have to pay for the lead and you're paying a salary, think of your business like a stadium. You've got empty seats, people not working. Like if I own a stadium and I have outbound expenses as a business owner, I've got payroll and benefits and everything else, and I have an empty seat, someone that is not currently busy, I'm going to give away the seat because I know people are going to buy a beer, right? They're going to drink the $50, $25 Manhattan. They're going to have some hot dogs, right? So what's your philosophy, both of you, I'm curious from both angles, on giving away tune-ups to get in the home, booking them?
Look, if there continues to be pushback on whatever it is we're charging, whether it's for a tune-up, whether it's for a dispatch fee, and in the beginning, If they say, hey, what do you charge to come out? You know, it really depends on your situation. Can you tell me more about it? Well, I've got this air conditioner and it's blowing hot air. I'm like, gosh, it's terrible. How long has it been doing that? Oh, last couple of days. Well, look, we can totally help you with that. When would you like us out? Now, most of the time, 70, 80% of the time, you're going to book that call. So what does that leave? About 20% of the time. So let's say they push back and they say, you know what, before I have anybody come out, I really want to get an idea of what you charge. It's a great question. What we do is we send out a technician. He's trained, he's certified. He's backed by our company. He's been around for the last 20 years. So you're in great hands. He'll come out and take a look at the situation, give you a price for what's going on. And it'll be all before he starts. Now, there is a fee of X for him to come out and do that. Now they go, X, I don't want to pay X. Mr. Jones, is it just that you're concerned about? Yeah, I don't want to pay. Let's say it's $1. I don't want to pay that. Okay, cool. Is it just the dollar you're concerned about? Yeah. Okay, so there's one thing that we can do. We have a club membership. It's awesome. Come out in the spring, come out in the fall. Make sure it's running at peak efficiency. The best part about it is it prevents things like this from happening. Now, if I can get you on the service agreement as opposed to having you pay the dispatch fee, is that enough for you to move forward with the appointment today? Now, the reason why I share all that, Jennifer and Crystal, is because I want to say, yes, I won't balk too much on a tune-up or a dispatch fee if the CSR knows their process, goes through those 3 no's, and the percentage of the time is going to be what? 2% of the time? So I'm just trying to quantify my answer, okay? Yes, I'm not going to care too much about a price on a tune-up or a dispatch fee as long as they follow the process. And chances are, if they follow the process, they're never going to have that pushback, maybe 1% of the time. Does that help answer? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I use this all the time too. So when we're developing marketing strategies for contractors, one of the things is like this low barrier of entry. So especially those of you that are in highly competitive markets, I'm not trying to race everybody to the bottom of the pile. Like I'm really rarely going to be the girl that's like, let's do a $9.99 tune-up. I just think you need to look at your market and build something that is non-threatening for people to try out your company. Now you better hope that you've got that customer journey sewed up, and you're going to win them on that full experience, right? But I mean, I'm a huge proponent of this low, non-threatening thing that people can try. So because people kind of feel like they might get like, sure, this is what they're putting out on social media, or I see all their stuff everywhere, but they're probably the most expensive company in town, or whatever. So I really think launching something that allows them to try your company without a huge financial investment is a pretty good marketing tactic, especially in a crowded place.
I need to address something before we run out of time. Crystal said something about a CSR saying that I'm just a CSR. The word just needs to be taken out of our vocabulary. In fact, Jennifer mentioned it as well. So I am in the process of helping my daughter answer phones for DeHart Heating and Cooling in Kansas. Okay, I'm just going to straight up say it. I would not have my daughter go into the industry if she was just going to be a CSR, you guys. No, I'm going to give her the tools, and I've talked to DeHart about this. I'm going to give her the tools to make as much money as she possibly can. And this is important because she has her own daughter, my granddaughter. She's not just anything. Okay, let me show you one more thing. This is my son. This is Isaac. Okay, this is him in technical school. Okay, he's going to be a technician. Why? Because he's freaking smart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is his senior year in high school. I paid $2,000 for this school. Why? Because I'm freaking smart. Okay, I've been in this industry a long time. I see what people can make. Okay, I see what they can make together, but they need to start somewhere. They've got to pay their dues. This is the industry they want to be in. Okay, this is them listening to me. I am one proud father. Never, ever say just. Again, it is the best industry on the planet. You are in the right place. All you need to do is apply yourself. All you need is to perform at a high level. And I promise you, the sky's the limit for you in this industry. You're not just anything.
Making my eyes all cry. You guys, this is as you go into 2025, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's changing, right? You guys are probably being Oh my gosh, what just happened?
Inundated.
Inundated. It's early here. I gotta inundated with things about AI and technology advancements. And are those things coming? They're not coming. They're here, and those are huge. You're subjected to so much information. You're going to trade shows, you don't know whether the information is valid or not valid or old or something you should follow. And you guys, quite frankly, have a target on your back from every company trying to sell you all their wares and tears from everywhere across the entire planet. This is complicated. But what we're talking about today is not. These are the brass tacks things that are simple. These are the brass tacks things that are not changing, right? Being an owner means that you have to show up, suit up, and participate. It means that you've got to be accountable for the nooks and crannies of your business. It means that you need to plan and project and motivate your team. This is as you go into 2025 and you're starting to look at all of these fancy dancy things, all the bells and whistles and how to, pimp my ride and all everything else that's coming with all the tricks and gadgets and gizmos and everything. Just remember that these are core fundamentals. These are core things that have to become part of your soul. And you've got to prioritize time for these.
Yes.
This is your revenue team, right? This is your sales and marketing department, not just a CSR, not just a customer service team. This is your sales and marketing department. And they're critical to your business. They're literally they're improving the value of your dollar, or they're depreciating the value of your dollar. But either way, your ability to focus and concentrate and prioritize and give the effort and concern and training and education to these people is critical. Critical.
Yes.
Crystal, any final comments you'd like to leave for everyone as we roll into 2025?
I can't, as your vendors, we can't care more about your business than you do. So if we care more about the value of leads and we care more about your booking rates, then that really does say a lot to us about what type of contractor you are. And I know that sounds harsh, but we care enough to say, what's going on? Give us more feedback. Like, how are we doing these things? And we're going to push you and listen, you're pulled many directions. So I just encourage you, prioritize spending time with your team in the right order, and don't do your best to not get overwhelmed as a contractor with overly training and overly caring. It's just a matter of finding that healthy balance that keeps everybody pumping towards their goals, and all of those things pumping together is what makes a successful business. And you can do it. It's just start somewhere and things will start turning around.
Yes.
Brigham, final thoughts?
You have control. You have control over this. Create a culture that is a culture of training, and do it from top to bottom, left to right, not just your technicians, your CSRs. If you can't do it on your own, get help. Get a third party to help you out.
Great. You guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days. I hope that you guys are getting ready for the holidays, going to have some time with your family, and, really prioritize the people that are around you. Everyone gets into business because they want more time, money, and freedom. And that's what we all are focused on, is to help you get there. That's what this is about, is helping you accomplish your goals. As we end this new year, take time with your family, take time to reflect, take time to invest in yourself. We hope to see you on the next podcast. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you guys.
Bye.
You guys.